Hi, I'm John Hart and welcome back to Mr. America Hart. All right, today's a little bit of a different kind of show over here on Mr. America Hart. A few of my recent videos I've shared with you some of the crazy stories of some of the training techniques or things that I've done as a part of the eagerness to want to have more muscle as a younger man, just starting out, as well as, with no excuse, quite a few years into it, just going for it. And so I shared with you in one of my more recent videos the 8 arm workouts in one day and seeing whether or not that had worked. And I told you about how I did it and the results that I got. You can find the link for that video down below in the video description. However, today I have another fun one for you. It's going to come with a little bit of story time as well. I have a book sitting here on my leg I'm going to read you a little bit of in a moment. But quite famously, Arnold Schwarzenegger. Arnold is numero uno. Arnold has been, called the greatest bodybuilder of all time. Of course, we know now, in 2020 that a couple of the guys, for sure could have taken Arnold. I mean, Ronnie Coleman, I don't think anybody disputes that Ronnie Coleman is the best of all time, pretty much physique-wise. That the fact that he's been done since 2005 or 2006, near his peak around 2005 and 6, until now, there really hasn't been anybody that could actually beat him. So that speaks a lot. I guess in some ways Arnold had the same thing. But anyway, I digress. The story today, here we go. One of the fun ones that Arnold talked about in his book, and I don't know if any of you have ever seen this book, but Arnold, The Education of a Bodybuilder. Now, the original, this is a soft cover. Again, I'll put the link for this one down below in the video description, but this is a soft cover of his original book. And the original one, for those of you who know, it had this phenomenal shot of him on Muscle Rock, a single bicep shot that was crazy. It was a twisting single bicep shot, and that bicep of his was off the chain. It was crazy with this monstrous peak, and he was just at the peak of his career. He looked amazing in it. So, I keep saying amazing, because it was. So I have this book right here, and I want to share with you one of the stories. This is the story time that I'm reading to you. It's just a couple of paragraphs, and I'm going to share with you what Arnold did when he was younger. This is before he became a professional bodybuilder, before he became Mr. Olympia, as he was still growing and living in Germany, and then how I and my training partner at the time, after having read this, we were only about 20 years old, 19, we did similar. So I'm going to share this with you. So this is an excerpt out of Arnold's The Education of a Bodybuilder. It's on page 84 of this book right here. And it says, Arnold, I asked myself over and over, what can you do to be special and different? I finally arrived at the idea of shocking the muscles. If you do 10 sets of bench presses or any other exercise regularly for a year, the muscles gradually get used to 10 sets of bench presses and the growth slows down. So once a week, I took a training partner and drove out into the country with the weights. We limited ourselves to one exercise for a particular body part. I remember the first day we carried 250 pounds out into the forest and did squats for 3 hours straight. 250 for squats, 3 hours straight. Wow. I began by doing 20 repetitions with 250 pounds. Then my partner did whatever he could. Then it was my turn again. We ended up doing something like 55 sets of squats each. Back up, ladies and gentlemen. 55 sets over the course of 3 hours. Okay? I'm not disbelieving it. Let's take it all at its word. And then he says, the last hour seemed endless, but it worked. Our thighs pumped up like balloons. That first day we gave our thigh muscles such a shock that we couldn't walk right for a week. We barely could crawl. Our legs had never experienced anything as tough as those 55 sets, and each of us put something like an eighth or a quarter of an inch on our thighs. They just blew up. They had no chance to survive except to grow. And then he goes on to say how they made it a regular thing and would go ahead and do such things weekly, whether it was with squats or bench presses or bent over rows or chins from trees. It was very, primal, very out in the forest, doing the business like that. Just amazing and fun, right? So myself and my training partner at the time, Kenny was my training partner. And I remember vividly the two of us talking about this. And boy, we decided we were going to take a Saturday because, we worked during the week. We were going to take a Saturday and we were going to do just squats. Heavy squats? Yes. Light squats? Yes. Medium squats? Yes. We would just take our normal weight and build up to whatever our normal weight would be. So let's say at the time it was, 315 pounds for 10 reps. And then we would stay at that weight as long as we could until we got down to where it was a little bit dangerous at like 6 reps. So we do that over and over again before we would lighten up the load. And then we would keep on going and see what we could do. And yes, we were shooting for that Arnold 3 hours. Whew, man, I remember it like it was yesterday. So we did. We built up to 3 plates. We got it going, and we started squatting away. And it was fun. It was a lot of fun. It was a great experiment. I mean, both of us pretty much enjoying it for that first hour. And then we realized, wow, I mean, we were about 15, 14 sets into it. I mean, we had to take rest, especially after we hit the heavy weight. So every set counted from warm-ups straight on through. And back then, we didn't do a lot of warm-ups. We did 2 warm-ups. We were ready to go. So we knock out set after set after set. And I got to tell you, the muscles in my thighs, I already had big thighs. Kenny, he needed bigger thighs. And so he was really hungry to do this. Me, I wanted more. So yes, just like I've shared with you guys before, as a young bodybuilder, sometimes you get crazy. And just like Arnold wrote about in his book, we got a little bit crazy. And so we made it through an hour and a half. At an hour and a half, those squats were, just holding the weight on our backs. Our backs were pretty much done. Our legs were beyond finished. Okay, every muscle from the lower back down to our feet, all of them, including the calves, were just finished. We did a grand total of 22 sets of squats in an hour and a half. 22 sets, heavy, medium, and light. The muscles, they were damaged. They felt damaged. We were wiped out. We couldn't get food into us fast enough when we were done. We sweated a whole bunch. I mean, I don't even recall if we used Gatorade or anything like that back then. I don't even think we knew about it. But we were, obviously drinking fluids and finished that workout up. At 22, we both looked at each other like this, like there was just nothing left. So I was about the same age as Arnold is describing, in his book. And, whether or not you're using any kind of drugs, before you even ask that question, I wasn't, Kenny wasn't, and the amount of destruction being done is just so much at that point in time. Our knees were sore. We didn't even step out of the gym yet. We were already sore from the workout itself, from the total mass destruction and overuse of that one exercise. We squatted. We hit something so hard in our bodies that, that day we laughed it off and we left. And we planned on seeing each other again on Monday at the gym a couple days later. Boy, that night, here we go. I went to sleep that night and whoo! I was woken up by tremors going on in my legs. And when I tell you it was every single muscle from my lower back down to my ankles, including my calves, I'm not kidding you. Arnold described in his book how, he was sore for a week. He could barely walk right for a week. Maybe it's just me, but yes, I went way beyond a week. I mean, it was, when Monday rolled around, Kenny and myself, we didn't work out. There was no way. We were just getting to the point where the soreness was just settling in. I couldn't sleep. 2 nights later, I was so sore. 3 nights later, it was even peaking more. So it was not peaking at 48 hours and then regressing. That soreness was so deep. The destruction was so massive. And yeah, the swelling was crazy. I mean, my thighs were so swollen, Kenny's too, that we didn't hook up until Wednesday back at the gym. So we literally went Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, 4 days before we stepped back in the gym to train. And we were, again, 19. We were teenagers, full of testosterone, piss and vinegar. I mean, all of that. Ready to go. Stupid as we could be, right? Ready to go. We did some half-assed upper body workout on that Wednesday, laughing the whole time about how we couldn't bend our knees. I mean, it was serious. Limping around the gym. But we had done it, we had done it. That's part of it. We had done it. There was something in there worth saying, something in there for us that was worth going through that just to say we could, just to say that we did, just to say that, yeah, we were hungry. Did we make 55 sets? No. Do I believe that Arnold did 55 sets? No, I don't. That's just my opinion. I did 22 and at the same age as him, and we went all out. And we did it without the beer and without the forest and without, the whole chicken that he said he ate afterwards. We'd go and we eat afterwards our own food. But we did it in a gym setting. And we had that one squat rack to ourselves for an hour and a half. And we went for it. And man, that soreness that hit was so severe. The lack of functionality, our legs weren't functioning for a week. Then when they started to function, they were just sore for another week. Then they were recovering. Finally, I think 2-3 weeks, we didn't even touch our legs again for 2 weeks, pumping blood through them on leg extensions or something like that, just to keep light blood flow going through to help it to recover. We couldn't train. When Arnold says that he gained 1/8 of an inch or 1/4 of an inch from that workout, here's the paradox. I just said, do I believe that he did 55 sets? No, I don't. Do I believe that he gained 1/8 of an inch or 1/4 of an inch? Yes, I do. Because that's what happened to me. I did. Put on 1/4 of an inch on both thighs. It was so severe, but that was the net result. The damage that was done on my thighs, quite different from that, 8 workout video that I did on the arms. This one squat workout was so severe, and it did blast new growth into my thighs. So I was thankful for having done it in that regard. And I did get the function back in my legs after a couple of weeks. And certainly we did not even, the rest of that month was shot as far as, our leg workouts went. And then also it was shot as far as just the rest of our workouts went. Our nervous systems were just shot. It was that extreme, that severe. So no, I don't believe that he did 55 sets. Yes, I did 22 sets myself. It was extreme. And the amount of food that I had to take in after that, not just that day, but in the ensuing week or two afterwards, I did increase my calories enough so that, yeah, I did put on some good body weight, 5 pounds or so. And then I also grew that 1/2 inch in my thighs. And it wasn't sloppy weight. This was actual muscle. So I believe, that at my height, when you're just around 6 feet tall, or maybe just a little bit shorter like I am, if you're just under 6 feet tall or around there, you put on 1 full inch on your thighs, you're going to gain 10 pounds on the scale. So that fits with what I always found to be true. I put on 1/2 inch of size, on my thighs, it should be about 5 pounds. In my case, I put on 1/4 of an inch, and yes, it was 5 pounds, but that kind of dissipated down to about, in the end, after a month, it was about a 3-pound gain, which is about right. So I found it to be very effective. Crazy? Yes, crazy. Arnold, I'm thankful for those stories. Let me give you a little bit of a backstory on this one as well. A little follow-up story on this you like to hear. When I was a trainer at World Gym in Marina del Rey, I was there also in Venice, but near the end of World Gym Venice or World Gym Marina del Rey, when it was closed in 2007, I was there, when they moved to Marina del Rey as a full-time trainer, and I used to hang out with Eddie Giuliani all the time. Eddie was the manager of World Gym, and I'd hang out in the office with him. And one day I asked him about this workout that Arnold says that he did. I asked him, I said, so what do you think about this? That Arnold went into the forest and did 55 sets of squats, and I told him how I did it, and I only made it to 22 in an hour and a half. I couldn't go 3 hours. I put myself in the hospital at 3 hours. So I said that to him, and the entire time, Eddie's looking at me like this. And I go, what? And then and he says to me, he goes, 55 sets of squats. And he went into the forest. Yeah. And he says, so how do you get the weights there? And I go, well, in his book, he says he drove with a friend, a training partner, and they put the weights in the trunk of the car. So at some point, though, he went to the forest, and he still had to carry those weights into the forest. Yeah. 250 pounds. I said, yeah. And he goes, how did he get it up on his back? So he just cleaned it? Oh, okay, maybe he did. Okay, maybe he did. But he looks at me and he goes, don't believe everything you read. He goes, I trained with Arnold. I trained with him for years. Arnold's one of the biggest jokers around. He loves to put people on, but he also can tell great stories, you know? So, and I found that to be true too. Arnold was fun to be around, and, you know, he had his way with people sometimes, but a lot of fun. And so when Eddie said that to me, I didn't feel like a dope, but genuinely I felt like I did something I set out to do and I accomplished something. And it was good, though, to hear Eddie verify that, you know, in fact, Arnold, he didn't do that like this. So I'm glad to hear that because, you know, doing an hour and a half versus Arnold's 3, whew, I don't care if you're using anything. I don't care if you're using the old Diana ball back in the day. I don't care. 3 hours worth of squatting is so destructive that you could land yourself in that hospital because of it. It's so amazingly destructive. So that's it. My fun little story time for today. Thought I'd share that one with you. Am I for doing such things? Yeah, guys, look. You should every once in a while experiment. You know, should you do it to the extreme I did it to? I don't know. I'm not saying you should. You know, I am saying I'm for experimenting, you know, as a bodybuilder. You have to. It's something that, you know, in here and in here, it's part of your makeup. You know, if you really want to get the most out of it, you pretty much have to put the most into it. And sometimes it does get extreme. Sometimes it's an extreme sport. And sometimes it gets a little bit crazy. That's it for today. From my heart to you, John Hart. Hey, before you go, right off to my left, you're going to see this little disc pop up in a moment. That's the subscribe button to my channel. Please give that a tap. And so you'll be notified by YouTube every time I come up with a new video. Down below, you're going to see, or if you're on a laptop, straight down below, you're going to see a thumbs up button. Hit that thumbs up button, won't you? Just give the video a like. It helps with the algorithm from YouTube. That's it for today. I look forward to seeing you again next time. Thank you very much.